I told them that I would live with them and help them with their living expenses. But as it turns out, I'm paying for everything. And to top it off, my mother-in-law even started worrying about my savings. I'm the one who lets you live here, so it's only natural that I can spend your money. She even went so far as to say that. But what awaited me in the end was something I couldn't help but laugh at. My name is Mindy. I met my husband by chance at work. I'm a consultant, and sometimes I give talks about my work. I don't do them on a large scale, but one of the attendees was my future husband. The theme of the lecture at that time was what it means to make money. So many of the attendees were self-employed or CEOs, but he was just an ordinary office worker. But I had the impression that he listened to the lecture very seriously. Even after the seminar was over, he came to me with his own questions and thanked me directly by email, which made me feel that he was very interested in what I had to say. But on the other hand, I also had the impression that he was somewhat unreliable. When he participated in the workshop, he said something nuanced like, "I did my best to pay for the workshop." That said, my workshops are like a side job to me, so the participation fee is not that high. But I won't lie that I was happy to hear that. After that, he often participated in my workshops, and I think our feelings grew closer as we interacted with each other. And finally, he confessed his feelings to me. However, I was aware of the fact that there was a significant difference in our financial ability. I've reached a point in my career where I'm not worried about money, and he has only the title of an ordinary employee. I think it's normal for people to think that I'm not a good match for him. But I've been with a few men while doing this job, and most of them have been financially capable, but a little over the top, in my opinion. Even though I have a job like this, I know deep down that money is not everything. So I accepted the relationship with him, and later we started talking about marriage. And then Jack proposed to me. But even then, I could not accept Jack's proposal right away, because he didn't pay much money for the dates we went on. I don't know how to say this, but I really don't think he has any money to spend on dates. He also told me that he wanted me to live with his mother when we got married. That was another complication for me. But when I asked him why he wanted me to move in with her, he was very clear.
My dad passed away, and my mom is not strong enough to work. I've managed to make ends meet on my salary, but it's been tough. That's why I need your help with living expenses.
That's what he told me. I knew that at a time like this, the only thing that comes to mind is the unreliability I felt at first. But in the end, I accepted his proposal because I knew he was sincere. I think I paid more for the dates than he did. But I didn't stop going out with him, even in that situation, because he still made plans for our dates and prepared gifts for my birthday and other occasions. I felt that he was easier to date than the men I had dated in the past, who had a strange sense of pride because I was the one who earned the money when he had financial problems. With this in mind, I accepted to live with him at his parents' house and to help with living expenses, and we decided to get married. However, my decision turned out to be a mistake. His mother had accepted me, and I thought our life together would go well. But I did not realize at the time that such a tragedy was awaiting us. First of all, I had already thought that when I went to greet his mother at the wedding, her house was really old and had a lot of issues. I don't know if this is the right way to put it, but it was as if they had been living in poverty. I thought it would be difficult for me to continue to live in this house, so I talked to them about it. I will pay for it, so can we remodel the house a little bit? She was overjoyed, and my mother-in-law immediately agreed. Well, it was a little difficult for me to accept the idea of living together without her approval, so I was glad. I was relieved that I could pay for the remodeling, and the house became a reasonably comfortable place to live. However, as we continued to live together, I gradually began to feel a sense of discomfort. My in-law did not pay her utility bills online, but by check when bill came. One day, I found an electric bill in the mailbox and told my mother-in-law about it. Then would you go and pay it for me? That's what she said. So I went to pay it as she asked. I was confused for a moment when she said that, but I thought she would pay me back, and it was not that much money. So I went to pay it as she asked. However, after that, my mother-in-law and husband never mentioned anything about the electricity bill, and I began to wonder if they were aware that I had paid it. After that, when the water bill or the gas bill came, I asked my mother-in-law about it. Then could you go and pay them for me? That would be great, she kept saying to me. And after that, neither my mother-in-law nor my husband mentioned the money to me. I don't care about the money, but wish they would say a word about it. But we are newlyweds, and I don't want to ruin the mood. Besides, I knew that my husband didn't make much money, so I didn't want to be stingy. I decided to pay the utilities myself. But even after that, I had to pay various expenses in the name of living expenses. Sometimes, my mother-in-law told me, "We ran out of detergent," or "We only have 2 rolls of toilet paper." So she sent me to buy them, but I was the one who paid for them. My mother-in-law never pays for any of it, but I didn't say anything to her because it was not a big amount of money. But as we continued to live together, the scale of what my mother-in-law said gradually became larger and larger. "This microwave is so old. I've always wondered if this refrigerator is big enough for the 3 of us. Mindy, what do you think?" "Yeah, I think it's small too." "Do you think I should buy a new one?" I answered saying I think it would be a good idea to buy a new one. Then my mother-in-law said, "I thought so. Then would you go and buy a new one, Mindy?" As if she had been waiting for my answer. When the amount of money is this large, no matter how much money I have, there is a part of me that thinks about it a little bit. As I had said many times, it's not an amount I can't afford. But I realize that I have been paying for most of the food in our life, and I even wonder what my husband's salary is like. I have been paying almost all of our living expenses, so it is getting harder and harder for me to do what my mother-in-law is asking me to do. So I thought it was time for me to talk to her about finances. How about having Jack buy it for us? I don't know much about home appliances. My mother-in-law suddenly looked more doubtful than I had ever seen her before. "How dare you ask for Jack's money? What kind of wife are you? Jack works hard too, so it's not fair of you to take advantage of his money." That's what she said to me. I'm working hard too, but I was surprised that my mother-in-law didn't understand the fact that I'm working so hard. On the contrary, my mother-in-law said to me, "You are earning a lot of money, so you should save it as well. A wife is supposed to protect the family finances." That's what my mother-in-law said to me. I have been calculating the family budget for a long time without being told to do so, and I have been saving money in my own way. I don't want my mother-in-law, who doesn't pay her living expenses, to tell me that. And I even wonder how Jack is using his salary. I would be happy if Jack had been able to save some money if he had taken my course. But of course, it would be best if he could invest it in himself. Anyway, I felt like I was going to go crazy if I didn't let out my feeling to him. So one day, I boldly asked Jack, "Hey Jack, do you save money? I'm paying everything around the house, so I'm sure you've accumulated a lot of money." When I asked, he replied,
"How do you expect me to save money? I spend it all on drinks and gambling. Besides, I have my hobbies too. So what I do with my hard-earned money is my business.
I was stunned to hear him say this, as if I had asked a stupid question. Not only is he not saving or not investing, he was also wasting his money on gambling. Moreover, he was spending money on his own hobbies even though he did not pay for his living expenses. I said to him, "I'm the one who pays your living expenses all the time. So your salary was all spent on such things?" Jack's expression hardened, and he said,
What do you mean by that? You pay my bills so I can gamble. If you want me to earn money, then praise me for working hard.
"That's what he said." I even wondered if this is a simple misunderstanding of what I said during my workshop. Of course, I never said anything about gambling if you want to make money. I was deeply saddened to hear such words, and my distrust of my mother-in-law and my husband has also increased. It has been almost 5 years since we started to live together, and I have been bearing all the living expenses, although I have some patience because I believe in Jack. This means that this has only been beneficial to them and not me at all. In the end, all I can think is that they wanted to take advantage of my money. I don't even want to pay all the living expenses anymore. I decided to have a talk with my mother-in-law the next day. "I'm sorry, but I've been thinking that I would like to at least split the utility and food expenses with Jack." I thought I was being somewhat kind, but my mother-in-law became angry at my words. "Don't you understand what I said before? Besides, you are living in my house. Don't you feel that I'm taking care of you? I mean, you are living in my house, so it's only natural that you should pay for the living expenses, right?" "It's true I'm living in your house, but I'm the one who is taking care of you," is what I want to say to her. My mother-in-law said that as if she was only letting me stay in her house, even though it was her idea to live together. It seems that she cannot even understand that. I can't deny that at this moment. I clearly felt that I didn't want to be with this family anymore. And to top it off, my mother-in-law said to me, "Don't tell me you've forgotten that I told you that a wife should also save money. How much money do you have in savings right now?" She even asked me such a sensitive question, but I had a bad premonition about her words. My mother-in-law had been relying on my earnings from the beginning. If I honestly told her the amount of money I had saved, she might use it for her own extravagance in the future. "I think I have about $300,000 in my bank account," I answered her. Then she replied, "If you put it in your bank account, then I can't use it. Make it so that I can spend that money." I wondered why she was so obsessed with other people's money. But this is like my hunch coming true. I put some money in the safe so that I wouldn't touch my savings. I said something like that in the spur of the moment. Then my mother-in-law smiled and said, "Then I forgive you for your grievance against me and tell you to behave yourself as a wife from now. Since I haven't felt at ease since you came, I will take a trip to a resort." With these words, she walked away. I didn't understand what she meant. I could not help but wonder if she was thinking of using the money in the safe to go on a trip. But when I woke up the next day, my mother-in-law was already gone, and so was the safe. I seriously doubted my mother-in-law's nerve and asked my husband about her.
Who cares if she goes on a trip? Mom needs to relax once in a while.
He said something so carefree like this. I can't understand this family at all. My mother-in-law was basically stealing money by making me pay all the living expenses because I lived in her home. She and her son would be the ones to suffer the pain later for what they did. When I came home after work that day, my mother-in-law said to me in a terrible manner, "You lied to me, didn't you? There was no money in the safe." Apparently, she had gone to the airport with the safe. "I tried so hard to open the safe, but all I found inside was a bunch of weird junk and useless comic books. I was so pissed off, I threw it all away." That's what she said. "How dare you humiliate me?" My mother-in-law runs and raves as she opens the safe and shows me what's inside. Jack came home from work, and my mother-in-law explained the situation to him. But it was not me who he was angry with, but his own mother.
You seriously threw everything away? You've got to be kidding me!
I guess my mother-in-law was surprised at Jack's attitude. I think my mother-in-law wanted him to blame me. But what my mother-in-law threw away, which might have been just a useless piece of junk to her, was actually the contents of his treasures collection.
It was my precious collection, and all of them cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes. Inside the safe were limited edition comic books and action figures, and collecting them was Jack's money. There wasn't a penny of money in it, though. Anyway, Jack was in a state of confusion after having something important thrown away. I knew he liked those things, but I didn't know he had it in that safe. But I never lied about anything. I said there was a little bit in the safe, but I didn't say it was money. But my mother-in-law tried to make it my fault, while my husband was furious with her. But Mindy said there was money in the safe. Blame her! She tried to direct his anger towards me. I'd like to say one thing. You wouldn't keep anything important in a safe that you could easily carry around, would you? I think Jack probably put it in here because he didn't want his hobby to be known. As I said this, my mother-in-law finally felt remorseful what she had done. Jack, I'm sorry. She was almost down on her knees, but of course, Jack must have valued it as much as his own life. He didn't seem to be willing to forgive his mother at all. I guess the parent and child who jointly used my money ended up having a falling out. In this case, I decided to do what I had been thinking. I don't want to be with a family that uses my money without my permission anymore. So Jack, let's get a divorce. My mother-in-law and Jack tried to stop me from doing so. Of course they would, because they will be poor again when I am gone. I have already given you a luxurious life for 5 years, and I don't want to be merciful to you anymore. If you won't give me a divorce, I will fight it in court. I can get as many lawyers as I want. Please make sure you have a lawyer who can match that. I said to them, but of course, they don't have the money to afford such a powerful lawyer. Besides, I will tell them about how you destroyed the safe to go after my money. Even if there was no money, what you did was a crime. I know a lot of lawyers, and I will fight for you as much as you want. I bluffed a little. I can actually get a lawyer, but I know I can't make my mother-in-law a criminal. But that scared them both so much that they decided to easily grant me a divorce. I took the appliances and other things I had bought at their house and left the house. With all the major furniture and appliances gone, their house was probably poorer than it had been before I moved in with them. You will never make any money by taking things that belong to others, is what I explained at my workshop. I said over and over that it would only hurt you sooner or later. Was Jack even listening to anything I said? But I was right. And my mother-in-law and Jack are now living in such a poverty that it is difficult to have a normal life. On the other hand, as for me, I have spent a lot of extra money and time in the past 5 years. But as a consultant, I am glad to have had this realistic experience. If try dirty tricks like this, nothing good will come to you. I think it was a positive experience for me to be able to use these words more persuasively